What if I told you the fate of one of the world's oldest mountain ranges was hanging in the balance, all because of a legal fight over what one simple word actually means: a hill? I know, it sounds almost silly, right? A hill is a hill. But for India's Supreme Court, the answer to that very question could literally save an entire ecosystem from being completely destroyed. And this wasn't some philosophical debate happening in a classroom. Oh no, this was a real-life legal battle, a last stand in India's highest court to save the ancient Aravali mountain range from being, well, mined out of existence. So this whole thing exploded within a landmark environmental case that's been going on for years. The court had to step in because the Aravalis were facing a very real, very immediate threat. And to really get why this was so urgent, you have to understand exactly what was at stake. So what is the big deal about this mountain range anyway? Well, it's so much more than just a bunch of pretty hills. It's actually a crucial environmental shield, and it's protecting the very heart of northern India. I mean, listen to how the Supreme Court itself described it. They called the Aravalis a green barrier and an effective shield. A shield against what, you ask? Against the Thar Desert, which is relentlessly trying to expand. We're talking about one of the most ancient mountain ranges on the planet, just teeming with wildlife and unique plants. It's the only thing stopping the desert from swallowing up the fertile plains. But, as the court pointed out, it's facing escalating degradation pressures, which is really just a formal way of saying it's being systematically destroyed. So how on earth did we get to this point? Well, the problem, as it so often does, came down to a loophole, a massive legal loophole. Get this, the Aravali Range runs through 4 different states, and for years, each of those 4 states had its own definition of what an Aravali hill even was. This created this huge gray area that mining companies just drove a truck right through, leading to absolutely devastating illegal mining. Okay, so the court tried to fix this. In early 2024, they brought in an expert committee. By May, they realized the real problem was that nobody could agree on a definition. So they ordered a new committee to come up with one single, unified rule. But when that committee finally delivered its proposal in October 2025, it just made the fight even worse. And this is where it all came to a head, a final showdown in court, where they had to choose between 2 totally different definitions, 2 fundamentally different ways of seeing these hills. All right, so on one side, you had this super technical definition from the Forest Survey of India, the FSI. It's all about slope angles, buffer zones, valley widths, really scientific stuff. And on the other side, the new committee came in with a much, much simpler rule. If it's 100 meters high from its base, it's an Aravali hill. That's it. Now, the amicus curiae, that's an impartial advisor to the court. They argued for the technical FSI definition, but the government, it backed the new 100-meter rule, and its argument was that this would actually protect a larger total area. So you have 2 very different paths with very different potential consequences. But here's the major catch, and the amicus pointed it out. What happens to all the hills that are, say, 99 meters high or 80 meters? If the court went with that simple 100-meter rule, every single hillock below that line could legally be opened up for mining, which could just tear the heart out of the range. So the court was in a really tough spot. You have a complex technical rule versus a simple one with a potentially catastrophic loophole. What did they do? They chose neither of them. Seriously, the court decided that trying to pick one definition over the other was actually the wrong way to look at the problem. They realized they didn't need a better legal rule. They needed better science. So instead, they ordered something called a Management Plan for Sustainable Mining, or an MPSM. Now, this isn't just another report. It's a massive scientific project to map the entire range and figure out which areas can be mined sustainably and, more importantly, which areas must be protected no matter what. And this wasn't an idea they just pulled out of a hat. They had a precedent. A similar study had worked wonders in the Saranda forest, balancing conservation with industry. So they decided to use that same study-first playbook for the Aravalis. So the court's final order was crystal clear. They gave a nod to the committee for its hard work, but then they ordered this huge scientific study and basically hit the pause button on picking a final definition. The big takeaway here is that they chose to prioritize good data over a quick legal fix. And this case really leaves us with a powerful question to think about. When the law itself has to take a step back and wait for the science to catch up, what does that tell us? It suggests that maybe for our most tangled environmental problems, the smartest legal move is to first admit what we don't know and let science lead the way.